My family had owned the home for years before I ever lived there alone. I was 20 when I had my first child, young, a little overwhelmed. And when I thought about where to go, the family home made sense. It was familiar, it was safe, it was everything I knew. That feeling did not last long. It started with sounds at night, footsteps, in the hallway outside my bedroom, walking, sometimes running, back and forth like someone pacing, or like a child who could not sleep burning energy in the dark. The first few times it happened, I called out. Just yelled down the hall. Who is up? What are you doing? Go to bed. And usually someone would answer. A family member staying over. Someone getting water. There was always a reason. I stopped thinking much about it. Until the night there was no reason. I was in the shower. Late. My family had taken my child because I had an early shift the next morning. Everyone was out. I was completely alone in that house. And I heard it. Footsteps in the hallway. Right outside the bathroom door. The same back and forth I had heard dozens of times before. Slow, steady, deliberate. I stood under the water and I ran through every explanation I could think of. The pipes. The house contracting in the cold. The dogs moving around downstairs. But our dogs would have made noise if someone had come in. They always did. We had several of them, and not one of them was quiet about anything. The house was completely silent, except for those footsteps outside the bathroom door. I turned off the shower. I stood there in the quiet, and I made a decision that I do not fully understand even now. I decided I was going to open the door and look. I wrapped a towel around myself. I put my hand on the handle. I stood there for what felt like a long time. Then I opened it. I looked down the hallway. At the far end, where the hallway turned the corner toward the bedroom, there was a hand. Just a hand. Fingers wrapped around the edge of the wall, gripping it, like someone standing just out of sight, leaning slightly around the corner. The hand was there, completely still, visible, real. I did not scream. I did not move. I just stood in the bathroom doorway staring at it. My first thought, the rational thought, was that someone had broken in. But I knew that was not possible. The dogs. If any person had come through any door or window in that house, every dog we had would have gone absolutely insane. The house had been silent. So I stood there and I told myself I was tired. That the steam from the shower had done something to my eyes. That I was imagining it. I went back into the bedroom and got dressed. I told myself I would feel better with clothes on. That getting dressed was the logical next step. That I should just carry on with the evening and stop letting my mind do this to me. I walked out to the living room. From there, from that spot, you can see straight down the hallway to the bedroom door. Clear line of sight. Nothing in the way. I looked. There was a face, leaning out from the edge of the bedroom doorway. Just the way the hand had been around the corner of the hall. This face was peeking out slowly from behind the doorframe, looking at me. I ran. I did not think about it. I did not grab anything. I went out of that house as fast as I have ever gone anywhere in my life, and I did not stop. I moved out not long after that. I have not been back. Here is the part that changes everything. The part I have turned over in my mind more times than I can count. The face I saw, I knew it. It was my grandmother. She had died 10 years earlier, inside that home. When I was growing up, she had a game she played with me and my siblings. She would grab the edge of a wall with her hand, hide herself just around the corner, and then peek her face out slowly. Peekaboo. Over and over. Every time we visited. She loved it. We loved it. It was her thing. That is what I saw in that hallway. Not a threat. Not something trying to frighten me. My grandmother playing the same game she had always played. Like she had never left. My child, who was too young to know who she was, who had never seen a single photograph of her, used to tell me sometimes that he had been playing with the lady in the house. I never asked what she looked like. I did not need to. I need to say something before I tell you this story. For a period of my life, I could perceive people who had passed. I did not ask for it. I did not want it. I eventually found people who could help me learn how to stop it. Mediums, psychics, people who understood what I was experiencing. And after a long time, I got it under control. But this happened before I did, and it is the one I think about most. I was at home, an ordinary afternoon. Nothing unusual about the day. And then, without any warning, I felt myself pulled somewhere else. That is the only word I have for it. Pulled. Like something took hold of me and moved me without asking. I was still conscious, still fully aware. But I was not in my room. I was elevated, looking down from slightly above at my aunt, who was alive, completely alive at the time, standing in a space I cannot adequately describe even now. The surrounding area was white, but not the white of a wall or a ceiling, not blinding, not empty. There was structure to it that I could feel more than see, depth that did not follow any rules I understood, like existing in more than 3 dimensions, like space itself was different there. My aunt was smiling, completely at ease. She looked up at me and said, "Isn't it wonderful here?" Not a question, a statement, quiet and certain, like she was sharing something obvious. I looked to the right and saw 2 shapes in the distance, brownish, vaguely human in form, but not fully defined, standing together, watching. The moment I noticed them, I knew one was my grandmother, my aunt's mother. I felt it immediately and with complete certainty, the way you know things sometimes in dreams. I did not know the second shape, but I knew something was wrong. My grandmother had come to me before in various ways during that period of my life. She had always felt warm, open, familiar. This was not that. She was serious. Still, both of them were. Like they were present for a specific purpose and waiting for that purpose to be fulfilled. And then I understood what I was supposed to do. I had to tell my aunt to go back. She did not want to. I could feel that before she even responded. She had just become a grandmother. Her grandchildren were the center of everything for her. Her entire world was them. She was not ready. I said to her, and I remember this clearly, more clearly than most things. I said, "What about them? Do you have any idea what it would feel like to grow up knowing someone loved you completely, loved you more than anything, and to never feel that? To never have it because they were gone before you could know them?" She turned and looked at the second shape standing beside my grandmother, and in that moment, I knew who it was. Her father. He had died when my aunt was 4 years old. She had grown up without any memory of him, only stories. Only what other people told her about how much he had loved her, and she was standing next to him. Then it was over. I was in my room, sitting exactly where I had been, like no time had passed at all. I did not know what to do with it. I sat with it for a while and eventually told myself it was something my mind had constructed. A waking dream. Something. I went on with my day. My family called that evening. My aunt had gone in for surgery that day. Routine procedure. Everything went well. Come visit in the morning. When I arrived the next morning, her daughter was waiting for me. She said they had lost her on the operating table. She was alive, but she was in a coma. I went into the ICU with my mother, my aunt's sister. We sat with her in silence. The room was quiet and still, and I did not know what to say, so I said nothing. Then my mother asked me something. A simple question. I do not even remember what it was. I started to answer. About 2 minutes into me speaking, my aunt's hand began to move, slowly, reaching outward, toward my voice. Then she started choking on the breathing tube. She was awake. Family came later that day, but she would not look at them the way she looked at me. She kept turning back to me. This expression on her face that I did not fully understand in the moment, but have thought about many times since. Nurses said it might be shock. The next day, her daughter brought photographs. Pictures of the grandchildren my aunt had not yet been well enough to hold or spend time with. She looked at the first photograph for barely a second. Then she looked at me. That same look. I said, "It is so wonderful that you are here to see this." She gave a very small smile, a single nod. Then she looked through the rest of the photographs one by one, slowly and carefully. Over the following days, whenever family came to visit, she responded to them the way you would expect. Warmly, normally. But whenever she looked at me, it was different. It was the look of someone trying to ask a question they do not know how to form yet. Or maybe a question they are not sure they want the answer to. We never spoke about it, my aunt and I. Not once. Not directly. Not even close. I stayed in denial about what had happened for longer than I should have. Kept finding ways to explain it that did not require me to accept what I believed had actually occurred. But then I would come back to the same things. She woke up to my voice. She reached toward me before she was fully conscious. She looked at me, only at me, with that expression for days. Not her daughters, not her sister. Me. The place I was in, wherever it was, I have tried many times to put it into words that do justice to what it felt like. The closest I can get is this. There was no fear there, no pain, no sense of time moving at all. Only the feeling that time was infinite and that everything was held in a single moment simultaneously. A calm that has no equivalent in anything I have experienced in this life before or since. A peace so complete, it felt like the only real thing I have ever touched. I think about it sometimes, mostly at night, when the house is quiet. And I wonder if she remembers standing there, smiling, telling me how wonderful it was. I never asked. Some things do not need to be said out loud to be understood between two people. We both knew. My bedroom was on the upper floor. There was a spiral staircase that came down from the hallway that connected my room and my parents' room, and opened into the living room below. We had an open floor plan. From the top of those stairs you could see almost everything downstairs. The whole living room, the corners, all of it. I do not remember exactly when it started. I was little, young enough that the memory does not have clean edges. But I remember lying in bed at night, flat on my stomach, cheek pressed against the carpet, listening. There were voices downstairs, not television, not the house settling. Voices, distinct, separate voices. One woman, two men. I was certain of that even then. 3 different voices having a conversation I could never quite hear. They spoke softly, almost in whispers. But not full whispers, loud enough that the sound carried up the stairs and into my room. Loud enough that I could hear the rhythm of it, sometimes steady, sometimes what sounded like arguing, always just below the threshold of understanding. I would lie there and listen for what felt like hours. And sometimes, not every time, but sometimes, I would decide I needed to see. I would crawl to the top of the stairs and peer down into the living room. Every single time I did that, the voices stopped the moment I looked. Immediately, mid-sentence sometimes, just gone, and there was never anyone there. I want to be clear about what that means given the layout of that house. Open floor plan. From the top of those stairs, I could see the entire living room. There was nowhere to go, nowhere to hide quickly enough. If 3 people had been standing down there talking, I would have seen them, or at minimum seen them leaving. There was no door close enough, no hallway fast enough. They were just gone. I did not understand it then. I just went back to bed. It happened enough times that eventually it became normal. A strange kind of normal, but normal. It was only years later, sitting down and actually thinking about the layout of that living room, that I realized something that stopped me cold. The voices were usually coming from a specific area, the same corner, the same spot every time. That was where the old closet had been. Before my parents had it removed, before it was just a corner of the living room, That space had been a closet, and I had spent a significant amount of time in that closet when I was even younger, in the dark, by choice. I was terrified of the dark as a child. I want you to understand that before I tell you the next part. I was genuinely, deeply afraid of it. The kind of fear that makes a child sleep with every light on and check under the bed every single night. And yet, I used to go into that closet, alone, lights off, and sit in the dark. Because of Grendel. Grendel was a face I saw in the paint on the closet wall. The paint had been chipping, and the pattern it made in the peeling and the shadows looked like a face to me. A strange face. Not friendly exactly, but familiar in the way things from childhood become familiar. You see something enough times, and it stops frightening you, even when it should. I named it Grendel. I do not remember why. I was small. Grendel never spoke to me. That is important. It did not have a voice. It did not make sounds. It communicated differently. I would relax, completely. Let my body go loose and still. And then I would feel it. A pressure, subtle and strange, like something gently borrowing the muscles in my neck. And Grendel would move my head. Nod for yes. Slow shake for no. I would ask it questions, and it would answer through me. Using me. My body as the instrument. I remember it feeling strange. Not painful. Not violent. Just deeply, fundamentally wrong, in a way I did not have words for at that age. I kept going back. It ended when my parents had the closet wall repainted. The face disappeared under fresh white paint, and whatever had been in that pattern was gone. Later, they had the closet removed entirely during renovations. After that, I stopped going in there. The pull was just gone. I did not connect any of this for a long time. The closet, Grendel, the voices that came from that corner of the living room years after the closet no longer existed. It sat in different compartments in my memory, separate, strange things from a strange childhood home. Then, one evening, my mother and I were talking. I was older, an adult, and the house came up. And she told me. She told me they had believed the house was haunted. Not suspected, believed. Enough that before I was born, they had brought someone in to deal with it. A woman. Someone who claimed to be able to cleanse the space and remove whatever was there through some kind of ritual. My mother said they believed it worked. They thought it was gone by the time I came along. The house felt different. Whatever they had experienced before seemed to have stopped. But here is the thing my mother added at the end, almost as an aside. She was not entirely sure the woman had done what she claimed to do. Because apparently during the ritual, during this cleansing that was supposed to remove something from their home, this woman had spent a portion of it very obviously flirting with my father. My mother's words, not mine. So whatever she actually did in that house that night, how much of it was real, how carefully it was performed, whether anything was actually removed or simply left alone and left to settle back in, nobody knows. What I know is this. I spent years of my childhood lying with my cheek on the carpet, listening to 3 voices in a room I could see was empty. I spent time before that in a dark closet, letting something that lived in the paint move my head to answer my questions. And the voices always came from the same corner, the corner where the closet had been, where Grendel had been. I do not know what was in that house. I do not know if the ritual worked or if whatever was there simply changed the way it made itself known. I do not know if the face in the paint and the voices in the living room were connected, or 2 completely separate things sharing the same walls. What I know is that every time I looked down those stairs, every single time, they stopped, like they knew I was watching, like they had always known. If you have had an experience you cannot explain, something that felt too real to dismiss and too strange to share with the people around you, I want to hear it below. You are not as alone in this as you think.